अनाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदा सहगणान् ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. So before we begin, I just want to give you a recap of the themes that we have been seeing in Chitraketu Maharaj's pastime. So we first began with the theme, we saw the theme of obsession and fixation. So Chitraketu had this fixation with having a son, because of which he did this ati prayasa of marrying like 10 million wives. But then we see the story. So the takeaway that we get from that theme of obsession is finding a balance between chasing your ambition and over endeavor. And one of the ways that you can do that is by finding a mentor, finding a guru who can tell you that fine line. And then we saw the theme of jealousy. The remaining childless wives of Chitraketu, they got so jealous that they conspired together to actually murder an innocent child. And so the lesson that we took away from that was doing our best to stay away from bad association and actually seek good association so that our mind, intelligence, and senses are remain on the right path. And then we saw the theme of duality. So the word Harshashoka, the name Harshashoka also represents our own situation in the material world. There is happiness and distress and pleasure and pain. And the only way to actually maintain your sanity is to inquire something that is absolute, that is not relative. In this world of relativity, you need to like inquire and about something that is absolute. And that we see the Maharaj's Chitraketu Maharaj's story progresses to the fact that Angira and Narad Muni then come and then give him the knowledge of the temporary nature of the world and the body and relationships. And then finally, we come to today's verses. So the theme of today's verses, I felt, was receiving knowledge from exalted Vaishnavas, the way to receive knowledge from these exalted Vaishnavas. Okay, so let's begin with text 11. Who's reading?
So the order for today is Nupur Mataji, Kameshwar Prabhu, Nitya, and Jagannath Gopal. All of them are here.
Okay, so the Nupur, do you want to begin?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Text 11. Charanti hai avanam kamam brahmana bhagavaspriya matrisham gramaya buddhinam bodhaya matalinga lingina. Translation: by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Brahmanas, who are exalted to the position of Vaishnavas, the most dear servants of Krishna, sometimes dress like madmen just to benefit materialists like us, who are always attached to sense gratification, and just to dissipate our ignorance, these Vaishnavas wander on the surface of the globe according to their desire. Krishna.
Do you have something that you want to say, Nupur, about this?
No, Mataji, do not have anything to share.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to share?
I just want to add one line about the importance of sadhu sangha. It is said, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. So in this particular case, it's these exalted Vaishnavas who out of their own compassion are giving us this mercy, you know. So they wander all over the surface of the globe. And then it's because they want to shower mercy and due to their compassion. And if we take association of these exalted Vaishnavas, then that is our only hope, actually. And even in the CC, it is said, Bhaktapada Duli Ara Bhaktapada Jal, Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha Tina Mahabal. So these exalted souls, Bhaktapada Duli is the dust of their feet. Bhaktapada Jal is water that is washed their feet. And Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha Tina Mahajal. Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha is their remnants. So if we just associate with these exalted souls, then we'll make tremendous progress. And they're wandering all over the world, like in the case of the Bhakti Vedantas with Narad Muni and so on. So Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu or Manishika Mataji have a comment, I think. They raised their hands. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. So as I think last time Kameshwar Prabhu also raised this, and I was also thinking on this. So Angira Muni and Narad Muni, they are coming as Avdutas, or coming in disguise in front of Chitraketu. So if they would have came the way they are, so do you think Chitraketu would have had that familiarity and he would have just ran after them? You gave me this benediction and this has happened, now please again save me, now please help me. Or because now they are in disguise and he is calmly listening to them first, he is not recognizing them. So what do you think?
Who's answering this? Prabhuji, do you want to go ahead? Go to our Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that they were actually in disguise, Prabhu. I'm not convinced about that. I've not heard about it anywhere that they came in disguise the second time. It is always mentioned that Narad Muni and Angira Muni came and consoled the king, Chitraketu. So anyone else has heard about this?
But while reading these verses, we can.
Yeah, we read that. We read that last. Can you go back to the previous verse, Sundari Saki, just one sec?
I feel even the coming few verses also mention the same theme.
So the thing is, so it is mentioned here, King Chitraketu said, you both come here dressed like Avadutas, liberated persons, just to cover your identities. But I see that of all men, you are the most elevated in awareness. You know everything as it is. Therefore, you're the greatest of all personalities. I don't know. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, anyone else? Kameshwar Prabhu, what do you think?
Yeah, I also have doubt, Prabhuji, like whether really this is. It looks like they came in different identity. Only we have to guess, but there is no further explanation. But it's clearly mentioning that I'm not. He's asking like, who are you? Like, so suppose if the same as it is as Narada Muni and Angira Muni, he should have told, he should have identified, and but he's asking, who are you? So clearly, they are came, and also mentioning that they came as Avadutas, dressed as Avadutas. Differently, I mean, according to this, as it is pop out, definitely they came in different um, different
Dress.
dress. So
Yeah.
probably, yeah, this is only we have to get clarification from other sources later on.
Yeah. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
Yeah, I was also wondering, it is very clearly written that they came in disguise as Avadutas. But it could also be a kind of point of glorification in the sense that although you do look like normal people, but you are not normal people, you are very highly elevated souls. Like that, Chitraketu might be glorifying them in order to use, in order to glorify them, he might be using this poetic instrument of saying that although you are disguised as Avadutas, you are actually great men. So it's like Vaishnavas look like common people, but they are actually very elevated. That's what we say, right? So like that, he might have been glorifying that might be a poetic instrument he's using to glorify Narad Muni and Angira Muni. That's the only reason I can think of, and I don't see any reason for them to come disguised. I mean, what could there be? What could be a reason for them to come disguised?
In fact, even if they come disguised, it'll act as a more deterrent, because why would you want to listen to some stranger when you're going through so much pain, mental pain, right? So coming as they are, I think will actually benefit. I would have completely agreed with you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, except for this one phrase which says just to cover your identities. You see, just to cover your identities. That's
Yeah,
the
that's what, right? They don't act like elevated people, but they are actually elevated people. So just to cover their identities, they seem like normal people. Right?
Okay.
If we see ahead, like in text 18, I think text 17, Angira Muni actually reintroduces himself. He said that I approached you. Indeed, I am the same Angira Rishi. who
Yeah,
came."
I was going to just also say that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he did say that about himself, that I'm the same one. So I think as we go, I think this mystery will get resolved on its own. Maybe I think we should probably read ahead and see. I think it is true that they are disguised as Avadutas, or for that moment, it was made for Chitraketu not to be able to identify them.
Yeah,
But
actually,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Mataji. You brought a nice point, but you can complete your statement.
Yeah, but immediately Angira Muni in the verse 18, he says, I'm the same Angira Rishi who gave you the son, one year back. So he says that. And so, and immediately he clarifies that. And yeah, I think it'll get revealed as we go, this mystery.
Or is it just
Yeah.
that, I don't know, this is a little bit of speculation, I think. Is it just that Maharaj Chitraketu was in like so much grief and lamentation that he's just unable to, I don't know, maybe recognize them? But I think that's unlikely.
No, so he was in so much grief that they might not have wanted to cause a disruption by coming in their original forms.
Yes, that's what I also think, Prabhu, that if they would have come in their original form, then we don't know if Chitraketu would have taken that message in the same manner, or if he would have just seeked the solution immediately, like just get my son back and I don't want to hear anything. I mean, just some speculation I've heard.
But he immediately clarifies, no? Just in few more verses, he clarifies that I am the same Angira Rishi. So
no, but the conversation has happened, the soothing words, and they have given him the philosophy that you are not this body and everything they have given. Otherwise, if they would have come as a familiar personalities like our relatives and they start speaking something, then we may not be so receptive. I mean, these my such speculation.
okay, yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, the other point is that Gaur Kumar Prabhu mentioned that if they come as common people, even that will reduce the receptivity in a way. Like, why should in such a grief, moment of such a grief, why should Chitraketu pay attention to someone who's looking like a common person?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But here it says like he's mesmerized. Now he's like praising them. You are not normal people. You are something else.
yeah. Now he recognized. Yeah,
So
that is true.
I think that might be the reason that he is hearing them out. These people look different, and of course they are liberated Vaishnavas and they are pure souls. So that effect they still have of trying to calm.
Could be good. Yeah, it could very well be the case, bro. Yeah.
When I read this verse, I was just reminded of our sannyasis, our gurus, our swamis were preaching all over the world, and externally it may seem like they're dressed like in such far out robes, saffron robes, but they're like taking so much risk to their life and health, and they're like preaching all over the world. So that was what I was reminded of when I read this verse.
Not just saffron robes, there are many sannyasis who go to these very, very tough places to preach, and they don't wear saffron robes. They go in pant shirt.
That
Like
will be
literally
like
pant shirt.
far out for us. Yeah.
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 But that doesn't reduce their exaltedness. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay, moving to text 12 to 15. Kameshwar Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, Mataji, I will read it. Sorry, I missed it, the first part of the class. Like, no, a little bit. I got up very late. Actually, last night I was very late, so to go to sleep. So I was I missed it, the first part. Yeah, apologies for missing the first part because I thought of
Not
starting the session actually. So it is text from. Let me
Do
see.
you want the text or the translation?
Yeah, text only. The number I'm seeing that.
This is 12 to 15.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, 12 to 15. Yeah, these verses. కుమారో నారదారు అంగీరా దేవలోషితః అపాంతరాతమావ్యాసో మార్కండేయో అథ గౌతమః వశిష్ఠో. Can you just move? వశిష్ఠో బాదరాయణ వశిష్ఠో భగవాన్ రామః కపిలో బాదరాయణః దూర్వాసో యాజ్ఞవల్క్యశ్చ జాతుకర్ణాస్ తథారుణిః రోమశ్చాచ్చవనో దత్త ఆసురిః సపతాంజలిః ఋషిర్వేదాశిరో ధౌమ్యో మునిః పంచసికాస్తథా హిరణ్యనాభః కౌసలః శృతదేవా కృతధ్వజः ఏతే పరే చ సిద్ధేశశ్చ చరంతి జ్ఞానహేతవః. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Maharaj. Purport. Translation. O great souls, I have heard that among the great and perfect persons wandering the surface of the earth, to restrict knowledge to people covered by ignorance are Sanat Kumara, Narada, Rubu, Angira, Devala, Ashita, Apantaratma, Vyasadeva, Markandeya, Gautama, Vasistha, Bhagavan Parasurama, Kapila, Shukadeva, Durvasa, Yajnavalkya, Jatukarna, and Aruni. Others are Ramasha, Chavana, Tattatreya, Asuri, Patanjali, the great sage Dhaumya, who is like the heat of the Vedas, the sage who is like the head of the Vedas, the sage Panchashika, Hiryanabha, Kausalya, Sutdeva, and Rutadvaja. You must certainly he among them. Purport. The word Jnana Hatavaha is very significant because great personalities like those listed in these verses wander on the surface of the globe not to mislead the populace but to distribute real knowledge. Without this knowledge, human life is wasted. The human form of life is meant for realization of one's relationship with Krishna or God. One who lacks this knowledge is categorized among the animals. The Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, Namam dushkritino modaha prapatyante naradamaha mayaya pahruta jnana asuram bhavam asritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Ignorance is the bodily conception of life. Can you scroll up the screen? Not able to see. Ignorance is the bodily conception of life. Yeshatma buddhihi kunape tridhatuke sayeva go karaha. Practically throughout the universe, especially on this planet, Bhurloka thinks that there is no separate existence of the body and soul, and therefore no need of self-realization. But that is not a fact. Therefore, all the Brahmanas listed here, being devotees, travel all over the world to awaken Krishna consciousness in the hearts of such foolish materialists. The acharyas mentioned in these verses are described in the Mahabharata. The word Panchasika is also important. One who is liberated from the conception of Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya, and who is perfectly aware of the subtle coverings of the soul, is called Panchasika. According to the statements of the Mahabharata, Santi Parva, chapters 218 to 219, an Acharya named Panchasika took birth in the family of Maharaja Janaka, the ruler of Mithila. The Sankhya philosophers accept Panchasika Acharya is one of them. Real knowledge pertains to the living entity dwelling within the body. Unfortunately, because of ignorance, the living entity identifies himself with the body and therefore feels pleasure and pain. Yeah, this verse mentions all the advanced Vaishnavas, Rishis, and who dedicated their life for spreading the Krishna consciousness, for spreading the message to the human beings, and they are out of their compassion. They come from nowhere whenever there is their need, their presence is needed, so that they come and they will try to spread the message and save the human being. So you can see that Angirasa Muni, how he came in case of Chitraketu. And so many things are mentioned in this verse. Maybe I'm not able to compile all, but yeah, as Prabhupada purport is very excellent, and so much information has been given here. Especially, he started with the verse from Bhagavad Gita, the four kinds of people who do not surrender to God. And Dehatma Buddhi is the main obstacle for the human beings to go towards self-realization. So most of the lamentations come from this concept, the basic concept, this one, like I am this body, the main obstacle for realizing self-realization, for going towards self-realization. So here the same problem, I don't know, like why they did not come directly. Probably at that time, at the peak of the grief, like it will take some time to accept as it is. If Angira, Narada Muni, as it is, if they come, Chitraketu might not have taken the message as it is, because at that time his situation is so horrible. Like everybody is. They will take some time to accept the reality. So that's why they don't want to come. They come as a unknown persons initially, so that that is the way. Like like Jadabharata. Jadabharata also, you can see that he never revealed his identity, because his purpose is like entirely different. Like he wants to finish his in this life. He wants to finish everything and go back to the Godhead. So he came with a different purpose. So he doesn't want to reveal his identity. So here also, I guess, I mean, there is no, like, maybe further verses might reveal that. So definitely they may, it looks like they came in a different identity. But yeah, maybe others can add, because a lot of stuff is there in this. Only thing is, we got an opportunity to say the names of all the advanced sages here, and yeah, maybe others can add. No.
So, Prabhuji, one thing that you were saying that just reminded me about Jadabharata, that they didn't reveal their identity in the beginning. So I was hearing this lecture by Radhanath Maharaj, and he was saying this, that even like if you see the story of Krishna and Arjuna, Krishna was Arjuna's friend, and they used to have meals together. They used to go around together discussing strategy and everything. But he really didn't speak the Bhagavad Gita until Arjuna was actually ready to receive that knowledge, really seeking and ready to receive that knowledge. So that's when Krishna comes into the picture as a guide, and that's when he speaks the Bhagavad Gita. So that is something that we can see in this pastime also, that Angira and Narada don't come into the picture, don't just download their knowledge at the very beginning, but like they come and they tell him just when he really needs it. That's one thing I was thinking of. And another, actually, I had a question here that I wanted to ask. So this line that one who is liberated from the conceptions of Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya, and who is perfectly aware of the subtle coverings of the soul is called Panchashika. So I don't know, I think I was under the impression that Anandamaya and the soul were kind of similar. Or are these five the coverings of the soul, and the soul is beyond all of these five? Does anybody like have anything to say about this? I just had this question.
Yeah, that same thing came to my mind also. How can Prabhupada write that beyond all the five koshas? Four koshas we can understand, but the first four, Annamay, Pranamay, Manomay, and Vijnanamay. But Anandamay kosh is related to the happiness of the soul on a spiritual level. So, yeah, even I have that question.
And any other points that anybody wants to just mention in this entire purport?
Actually, Prabhuji, what I thought is here, above all means transcendental. Anandamaya means Suddha Sattva, and above all five koshas is transcendental platform. That's what I guess maybe Prabhupada meant that transcendental form where there is above all the modes. Anandamaya is it not Suddha Sattva Guna? Suddha Sattva stage of the
Shuddha
soul?
Sattva is transcendental, na? Sattva is not transcendental. Shuddha
Yeah.
Sattva is transcendental. That's what
Yeah,
I.
then Sattva is Pranamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, the Anandamaya is not Suddha platform, mode of goodness partner.
Yeah, so I guess we are all speaking with a limited knowledge of the Panchakoshas. So some who might be
Yes.
who might know about Panchakoshas will be able to tell.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, it's tough one to say what. Yeah, I recently heard a class by Radharani Mataji. Actually, I heard part of it. Aishwarya heard everything. So maybe I'll revisit that class, and it's about Panchakoshik Vikas. So this Panchakoshas thing is very important in parenting actually. So like for instance, Annamay is food, related to food, the nourishment that comes through food. So some people, like for example, Prithu is he only knows like food, right? Most of his things are food, and then now slowly he's becoming curious, right? But still food is a major component. Then he becomes curious, then that is Manomay, Pranmay. I don't exactly remember the categorization, but then the understanding is parents need to give all these nourish all these five koshas of the child. Not only of the child, even parents for themselves also need to nourish all these five koshas. It's not that we can forego emotional fulfillment in pursuit of maybe more and more accumulation of wealth, and which is in a way Annamay, or we cannot ignore our health in the pursuit of Vijnanamay kosha or research, and in terms of work and things like that. So it's a balanced way of raising kids, is what many ISKCON devotees also talk about, this Panchakoshik Vikas. So yeah, we can ask them.
Yeah, I remember we had actually discussed this when in that when we got to the Raja Yatra, we talked about self-care, and so so I was speaking about self-care on all the five levels, like Annamaya, health, Pranamaya, that's your pranic subtle kosha. Manomaya is the mental, emotional health, and Vijnanamaya is the level of discrimination, intellect. And Anandmaya, most devotees, as devotees, we see that the Anandmaya kosha is usually, well taken care of. We are like really serving everybody. We are into service. We are into chanting. We are into, our Anandmaya kosha is something that's really well taken care of. And sometimes we really tend to neglect the Annamaya. So that's something that we were discussing here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next verse. Who's next? Nitya Kishori Mataji.
Yes. Text 16. Tasmat yuvam gramya pashor mama muradiya prabhu Ande tamasi magnasya jnana deepa udiryatam. Translation and purport. Prabhupada ki jai. Because you are great personalities, you can give me the real knowledge. I'm as foolish as a village animal, like a pig or dog, because I'm merged in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, please ignite the torch of knowledge to save me. This is the way to receive knowledge. One must submit oneself at the lotus feet of great personalities who can actually deliver transcendental knowledge. It is therefore said, Tasmat Gurum Prapadyate Jignashu Shreya Uttama. One who is inquisitive to understand the highest goal and benefit of life must approach a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. Only one who is actually eager to receive knowledge, to eradicate the darkness of ignorance, is eligible to approach a guru or a spiritual master. The guru should not be approached for material benefits. One should not approach a guru just to cure some disease or receive some miraculous benefit. This is not the way to approach the guru. Tat Vijnanartha. One should approach the guru to understand the transcendental science of spiritual life. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are many bogus gurus who display magic to their disciples, and many foolish disciples want to see such magic for material benefits. These disciples are not interested in pursuing spiritual life to save themselves from the darkness of ignorance. It is said, Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnanansha Nashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. This gives the definition of the Guru. Everyone is in the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, everyone needs to be enlightened with transcendental knowledge. One who enlightens his disciple and saves him from rotting in the darkness of ignorance in this material world is a true Guru. Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's very wonderful purport by Prabhupada about the importance of submissive hearing and surrendering unto bona fide spiritual master, and after that the knowledge, imparting of the knowledge happens. So first step is to submit. So that's what King Chitraketu is also doing here, is he's begging. Now he's in the state of mind where he wants to know about the real knowledge. He says, you can give me the real knowledge. So he realizes himself being in the darkness of ignorance. Whereas previously when Angira Rishi came, he seemed to not be in this tendency. He was after material benefit. So the same Angira Rishi happened to come at the same time, the same place previously, but King Chitraketu was not in a position to get that knowledge because he was after the material benefit. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Also about bogus gurus. But in this context also, Chitraketu was not ready. So Angira Muni did not give him he could have easily said all of this, that you're not the body, you're the soul, and all this knowledge that is imparting from the beginning of this this chapter. He could have easily said that a year ago when he met, but Chitraketu was not in a position to receive it, nor he was surrendering and asking for this knowledge. So I guess that is why the process also for us, in ISKCON to aspire for a guru is necessary. It's not that we keep going from one guru to another guru. We really sincerely beg to be under their shelter and aspire for a spiritual master, and then that initiation, that diksha happens after the certain period has passed, and the disciple has proved themselves to be worthy of the diksha. So in Bhagavad Gita also we see that Arjun, he is pretty much bewildered, and he throws down his Gandiva bow, and he sits down in the chariot and says, "I'm Krishna, please please help me. I'm confused, I'm bewildered, I don't know what to do. On one side I have my relatives, on the other side, if I win, what is the point? All my relatives, all my teachers, and my grandfather, I will not be able to be happily live with my kingdom, knowing that all the people I loved so far are not there and were killed by my own arrows." So he's bewildered, and he's asking Krishna for help and shelter, and that's when the Bhagavad Gita gets spoken. So similarly, yeah, I also like the point about the bogus gurus. The people who wants to get, I remember this quote that Harivilas Prabhu once told in a class. I felt that that was perfectly what I wanted to hear at that point in time, was that only the cheaters get cheated. So we think that we are after pursuing spiritual life, but then we pick some guru, and then they display some magic, and then we get caught up in that magic. But then we are not really for the true spirituality, truly knowing who we are, what is the purpose, why we are here. We those are the true natural inquisitive questions that arises in a spiritual person. But one who gets caught up in all this siddhis, so-called siddhis, or magic, or tantras, they they get cheated. So if we get attracted to those things, and for gurus who displays those aspects, then for at that level also there are people to communicate, to deal with. Like if the disciple is at that level, we get guru also at that level only. So because that's what we want, and in the name of a spiritual seeker, we may tend to get attracted by all this magic, and all the so-called siddhis that normal people don't have. The other day we were just talking about how some gurus, they just magically have the shivaling appear on their hand, and the ashes appear on their hand, and they just give. These are not fake. They are able to actually do it, because that people get attracted to at that level, because that's good enough for them to know that okay, they are better than the normal human beings, because they're able to do this. Some yogis are able to elevate, so they are better than the normal level of people who can achieve that. Not everybody can elevate themselves, or a few feet out from the floor. Not everybody can manifest shivaling on their hands out of thin air, or ashes out of thin hair. So when people are attracted by this, that's what they want, and that's the level they get the gurus also. And this is Prabhupada's definition. But those disciples are not interested in pursuing spiritual life to save themselves from the darkness of ignorance. It's very important for us to know where we are, and what we really want. Yeah, and then we get the guru, spiritual master, based on what we aspire for. We get attracted to what we aspire for. Yeah, I've nothing much else to add. If somebody else wants to add, please go ahead.
That's a very important point, Mataji, that you made. You attract a guru according to your level. Yeah, that's something that's, especially in India, I think that's something that's very widespread. There are many gurus and there are many such siddhi people who get attracted by these siddhis, and so yeah, it's yeah. Is somebody saying something in chat? Yeah.
Yes, we hear about those type of people also. But I've either heard Prabhupada's lecture or Prabhupada's purport. I'm not sure, but definitely Prabhupada just mentioned that that they get the benefit of following something very sincerely, even though that's something that they follow happen to be bogus. The disciples who follow very sincerely, they get the benefit of, and then they get elevated to the to a little bit higher destination for the next lifetime, so that they can start from that point onwards. They don't even though if the guru falls down, or if the guru happens to be a bogus, then the disciples who are sincere get a better destination, I guess. That's my understanding. It also depends on the motive of the disciples, what they are after. They may be sincerely following for what purpose also. Yeah. But I agree, some gurus exploit the innocent disciples who believe what outwardly seeming to be a spiritual organization, but internally they are after power and money, and they get caught up, and they're not able to get out because they realize that it's a little too late. So at that point, I think Krishna sees the intention, and I guess and finds a better destination for the disciples.
I was remembering that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's pastime with that. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur's pastime with that Falgu Baba. That was there in the where he's like a fake bogus guru
Yeah.
exploiting. Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
remembering.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah,
Bhaktivinoda
Bhaktivinoda
Thakur,
Thakur. He goes ahead and he exploits them. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, not exploit, like exposes them. Exposes
Yeah.
the guru. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a interesting story. Yeah, the guy was called Bishaki Shane.
Vishwa.
So yeah, we can discuss some other time. Yeah.
There was one point that I wanted to make here. I was reading this very nice book called Pariprashnena, The Art of Inquiry by Gaur Govind Swami. And so in that he mentions this pastime of Sanatana Goswami. The way to inquire, the way to actually inquire knowledge from Vaishnavas is, so when he meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he puts a straw in his mouth, and that's a symbol of humility. And then he asks that, Ke Ami, who am I? Why am I suffering? What is the purpose of my life? So that's what Maharaj is writing in that book. He's saying that the purpose is to inquire about your false identification. That's the you pariprashnena sevaya, like the 4.34 Bhagavad Gita, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tad jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So it's you begin by pranipat, and then you go to pariprashna, and then sevaya. You surrender humbly, you inquire with humility, and then you serve the Guru Maharaj. So was what I wanted to just mention here. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to say? So, Prabhuji, should we go ahead? This is like the last verse for.
Yeah. Let's go ahead, Mataji.
Jagannath without review.
Yes. So this is the verse we are all waiting for.
Yeah.
Shri Angira Uvacha Aham te putra kamasya putra dosmya Angira nripa Esha Brahma Sutta Sakshan Narado Bhagavan Rishihi. Translation. Angira said, "My dear king, when you desired to have a son, I approached you. Indeed, I am the same Angira Rishi who gave you this son. As far as this Rishi, he is the great sage Narada, the direct son of Lord Brahma." Should I continue or?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
Unless somebody has anything to say here about this verse. No, okay, Prabhuji.
Itham tvam putra shokena magnam tamasi dustare atad arham anusmritya mahapurusha gocharam anugrahaya bhavatah praptav avam iha prabho brahmanyo bhagavad bhakto navasaditum arhasi. Translation. My dear king, you are an advanced devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To be absorbed in lamentation for the loss of something material is unsuitable for a person like you. Therefore, we have both come to relieve you from this false lamentation, which is due to your being merged in the darkness of ignorance. For those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, to be affected by material loss and gain is not at all desirable. Purport. Several words in this verse are very important. The word Mahapurusha refers to advanced devotees and also to the Supreme Personality. Maha means the Supreme and Purusha means person. One who always engages in the service of the Supreme Lord is called Mahapaurushika. Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit are sometimes addressed as Mahapaurushika. A devotee who should always aspire to engage in the service of advanced devotees. As Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Tadera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas Janame Janame Hoye Ehi Abhilash. A devotee should always aspire to live in the association of advanced devotees and engage in the service of the Lord through the Parampara system. One should serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the instructions of the great Goswamis of Vrindavan. This is called Tadera Charana Sevi. While serving the lotus feet of the Goswamis, one should live in the association of devotees, the Sanevas. This is the business of a devotee. A devotee should not aspire for material profit or lament for material loss. When Angira Rishi and Narada saw that Maharaj Chitraketu, an advanced devotee, had fallen in the darkness of ignorance and was lamenting for the material body of his son, by their causeless mercy, they came to advise him so that he could be saved from this ignorance. Another significant word here is Brahmanya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is sometimes addressed by the prayer Namo Brahmanya Devaya, which offers obeisances unto the Lord because he served by all the devotees. Therefore, this verse Brahmanyo Bhagavad Bhakto Nava Saditum Arhasi. Therefore, this verse states Brahmanyo Bhagavad Bhakto Nava Saditum Arhasi. This is a symptom of an advanced devotee, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. For a devotee, an advanced self-realized soul, there is no cause for jubilation or lamentation. He is always transcendental to conditional life. Yeah. Narottam Das Thakur also sets the right mood of a disciple. So last year when we got initiated, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu, myself, and who else is here from that? No, I have Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu, I think if he's here. Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu got initiated in ISV, but Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu and I got initiated during Narottam Das Thakur disappearance day, and Maharaj was talking about how Narottam Das Thakur sets the example of an ideal disciple, how he would clean the stool of his guru in the mornings, and how he would, beg for initiation. That kind of humility is required. So since the theme in the previous verse was that, and then the we are serving the lotus feet of the Goswamis. So they are like our shelter, Rupa Raghunath. In fact, we are known as Rupanugas. We are followers of Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada has often said in his lectures and in his books. So that's an example. So Bhakta Sane, Tadera Charana Sevi. So with that inspiration, we should serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. And and of course the term Mahapurush is described by Prabhupada in the initial part of the purport. He is defining it by saying that the word Mahapurusha refers to advanced devotees and also to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is not to be used in some political sense or in some social sense, and the word is reserved for an advanced devotee of the Lord, a pure devotee of the Lord. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing from my side. If anyone wants to share, please go ahead.
So, yes, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu and Manishka.
Yes, I was thinking that in this verse it mentions that Chitraketu is an advanced devotee, and both of the sages, they have come to save him from the material lamentation. And Prabhupada also writes how we should be in the association of advanced devotees and engage in their service. So I feel that the protection of Krishna for his devotees, it comes through, like devotees like Narada Muni and Angira Rishi, like the pure soul advanced devotees. So that's how Krishna is protecting the devotees. He may not, directly always come. So through his devotees, he's always there. And even Prabhupada emphasized that we can always remain protected if we are in the association of the advanced devotees. So I was just thinking of that.
Yes, it's a very beautiful point that both of you all made. Association is like, I remember Gaurakumar Prabhu asking me about association, and I remember my answer that that's the thing that's been my anchor in spiritual life, and it just reminded me of when you were talking about this. So even advanced devotees need association. That's what, you can never be so advanced that you'll never reach a stage where you will be like, I don't need any association. It's throughout your spiritual journey, association is something that's going to be very important. This is something that I'm taking away from this verse.
Yeah, that reminds me of Prabhupada's statement that if you think you can practice Krishna consciousness alone, then you are insane, he writes. Yeah, he uses a very strong word, insane, he says. So, yeah.
There are so many stories of devotees who actually tried to, go away and practice alone, and then they kind of went away from the path.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that point of association. So the 5 angas of bhakti are Nam, Dham, DT, devotees, and Bhagavatam. And you will see that out of these 5, 4 of them get nourished by the 5th one, which is the devotees. So without devotees, for example, chanting with devotees, if you see this, that in the mornings, if you chant with someone else, the holy names together in association with someone, then your attention and your focus on the holy name will be much, much better. And it is also said that when the holy name is chanted in even loudly, it's called Sankirtan. So, and for example, Dham, when you go for Dham alone, or when you go to the Dham in the association of devotees, then it's called a yatra. And you get so much more benefit. So the 4 angas, Nam, Dham, deities, and Bhagavatam will be nourished most in the association of the 5th one, which is the devotees, which is the association. So it is very, very important, as Sundari Sakhi Mataji was mentioning, that association is one thing that we should just hold on to. Everything else will fall in place. If we were just discussing, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu and me today, that if devotees keep coming to our Krishna House program, then automatically we have seen that even without us telling much, they take to the process of chanting. Today we heard that there was one boy whom we never thought would chant, and today he messaged that he's been chanting 2 rounds. So just like that, because he's been regularly coming to our programs. So the association is super important. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. On a funny side, Angira Muni and Narad Muni are coming together in HNCC. Yes. They were very good friends, if I remember correctly. There's this other story of Mrigari. Is that also Angira Muni? Prabhuji, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like this duo which is always going around giving knowledge to everybody. Yeah. Okay. Prabhuji, text 20, can we move on? Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay. Nupur.
Text 20. Tadaiva te param jnanam dadami griham agataha gyatvaanya vinivesham te putramaiva dadamayam. Translation. When I first came to your home, I could have given you the supreme transcendental knowledge, but when I saw that your mind was absorbed in material things, I gave you only a son who caused you jubilation and lamentation. So, like we have been discussing about this, that he could have done it at the first place, given him the knowledge, but King Chitraketu, he was in no state to understand all these things like the transcendental knowledge and everything. So he just gave the son. So I do not have anything to add.
Yes. Actually, it reminds me of another example. Even Vyasdeva and Narad Muni. If I'm correct, please correct me if I'm wrong. But so Narad Muni, so when Vyasdeva is like really desperate, he's written all the Vedas, he's written like so much, and then like he's like desperate he's still feeling this emptiness, and that's when Narad Muni comes and tells him that you should be writing purely about Krishna, purely about. So that's also another example. Actually, Maharaj gives in that same lecture. He talks about Krishna giving knowledge to Arjuna at the right time, and Vyasdev also giving knowledge. Narad Muni talking to Vyasdev at the right time when he's ready for it. Okay, I think we're going to finish. I probably think this is the text 21 to 23. I think this is the last one. Gorpan Prabhu, what do you think?
Yeah. We should end at 10, Mataji. Correct. Yeah, this is the last.
Kameshwar Prabhu.
Yeah, text. Yes. Text number at 21 to 23. Adhuna putrinam tapo bhavataiva nubhuyate evam dara gruharayo vividhaisvarya Sampadaha Sabdadasya cha Vishayas Chala Rajya Bhutayah Mahirajyam Balam Kosho Bhrutyamatya Srutirjanaha Sarve api surasene me shokamoha bhayartidaha Gandharva nagara prakyaha swapnamaya manorathaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. My dear king, now you are actually experiencing the misery of a person who has sons and daughters. O king, owner of the state of Sursena, one's wife, his house, the opulence of his kingdom, and his various other opulences and objects of sense perception are all the same in that they are temporary. One's kingdom, military power, treasury, servants, ministers, friends, and relatives are all causes of fear, illusion, lamentation, and distress. They are like a Gandharva Nagara, a non-existence palace that one imagines to exist in the forest. Because they are impermanent, they are no better than illusions, dreams, and mental concoctions. Purport. The verse describes the entanglement of material existence. In material existence, the living entity possesses many things: the material body, children, wife, and so on. Dehapatya kalatradishu. One may think that these will give him protection, but that is impossible. In spite of all these possessions, the spirit soul has to give up his present situation and accept another. The next situation may be unfavorable, but even if it is favorable, one must give it up and again accept another body. In this way, once tribulation in material existence continues. A sane man should be perfectly aware that these things will never be able to give him happiness. One must be situated in his spiritual identity and eternally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a devotee. Angirasa Rishi and Narada Muni gave this instruction to Maharaja Chitraketu. This is amazing purport given by Prabhupada. Actually, the essence of the human life has given here. Like, so how illusionary we think that everything is permanent. So these relations in this material world are really temporary. We have to realize this fact, and beyond the Dehatma Buddhi, we need to act in the present life. And it is, even though it is temporary, but it is real. So we have to handle things in a realistic way, not thinking that this body is impermanent, so I don't want to do anything. So karmanyamadikarasya. So we have every responsibility to do karma, and we have to renunciate its fruits. So that is the essence. The same thing here. Navadvarpura is imaginary. This is somewhere, I think, Srimad Bhagavatam only it was discussed earlier. I mentioned somewhere. Navadvarpuri, he says that he describes, I think, yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam, Pururava, like Manak, if you remember it, maybe one of you can remind me. So here he describes a very beautiful city is there, and there's a big, very nice, beautiful palace with the 9 entries, and their big snake is taken care of. All those things, very nice description comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. And we want to recollect that maybe somebody else can nicely put it. That is very, very interesting and also
Ranjana pastime, Prabhuji.
yes, yeah. Maybe we need to elaborate a little bit probably about it. So I just not able to recollect the whole thing. Yeah, this is that gives us a very easy thing to remember forever, like the story that how nicely they described. So somebody else, others can add now. I don't have anything.
I don't remember the entire analogy. I just remember it's there in that story. Puranja. No, I'm not wrong. I'm not sure of the entire story. Yeah. But that's a very good. I'm very glad you got to that point, Prabhuji. It's a very perfect. That analogy is very essential to understand this differentiation between the body and the soul. But one thing I really like about our philosophy is we are not just, I feel, talking about giving up all of these possessions, giving up the body, children, and all. It's more like dovetailing of using all of these things for serving Krishna. So just falsely maybe renunciating, maybe I don't know. I'm speaking about myself. I'm not at the stage where I can just renounce all of these things, my ambitions and my family and my attachment to the body, but there's this bridge where I understand that I'm using all of this for Krishna's service. That's a much easier way for me to like understand the concept of renunciation. It's just something that I was thinking when I was reading this but does just anybody else having anything to say?
So one thing I do want to mention here is that so Bhagavatam was spoken for someone who was about to die, and Bhagavad Gita was spoken when someone was about to fight a huge war. So Bhagavad Gita is actually the emphasis is on doing things, and the Bhagavatam's emphasis is on giving up or renouncing things. So we have to understand both in the right context. So if you see in many verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find such verses where one should give up one's wife, one house, one opulence, and things like that. But the same thing in Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that one should work, one should fight, one should not give up these things, So we have to understand in context under the guidance of a guru and take things in the right perspective. So, but the essence is the same. Like the Bhagavatam's purpose is renunciation, is giving up, but the Bhagavad Gita's purpose is to make someone fight. So that's the idea here. So please don't misinterpret this or misunderstand this verse.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say? I think we can end.
Yes, we can end here today. Thank you so much, Sundari Sakhi, for leading such a nice discussion today.
Thank you, Sundari Sakhi, for a nice discussion, and thank you everybody for active participation. Yeah, it was really nice today. We churned a lot of things. Definitely, if I think we all have homework to do to find out more about why they were in disguise. I think it's still unanswered question. Maybe we'll find some lecture somewhere. And if any of you do find some relevant points,
I feel that purport made it clear, Mataji, that when Chitraketu surrendered and accepted them as the guru, it felt like I mean, just an interpretation. If they would have come, then that he wouldn't have surrendered, I think. That surrender came, and that was, I think, the purpose of. And then they introduced themselves as.
But that was our interpretation, right? It was. I mean, I wish there was some like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or somebody would have, kind of asserted that. Yeah, we all kind of came to that conclusion. But is that a valid one? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, as an advance, so I can say, but yeah, I can always.
I'll take your word for it, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Happy Narsingha Chaturthi, everyone. It is
No,
tomorrow, right?
no, it's not tomorrow. It's the 4th.
Thursday.
In India.
Thursday.
In India, it's tomorrow.
Oh,
Tomorrow.
really?
Yeah, today is already
Yeah,
Wednesday. in
India,
India.
India tomorrow. India tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow meaning 4th, na? For
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
already it's 3rd.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, same. So
Yes.
for us, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Hare.
Take care.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.